So yeah, I'm gonna play KSP and basically do what I was going to do as a video. I'll just do it as part of the live stream instead. What I'm doing is setting up all of the stuff I need at the beginning of the missions. So basically, so I can colonize the Mun, Minimus, Duna, Lathe, and you know, and also have some like waypoints in some of these places for exploration of the planets. It was going to be an idea, and I probably will do. I'm going to do something more interesting right now, but I also need to put up like communications arrays and things like that, which I'll probably save for another one. But I'm going to at least launch a couple pieces of a space station and see if I can get them into orbit and assembled. I have a couple of ships, or I have a couple of reusable launchers based on the Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy and the Falcon Super Heavy. Which is basically my idea of what the Super Heavy would be, which is just more boosters. Just lots more boosters. I don't think that's actually how they're going to do it, but I'm kind of lazy when building these things. So I made a bunch of reusable rockets, and some of this stuff can be launched reusable, and some of it is going to have to be done with fully expendable stuff. But if you paid any attention to the Falcon launches or the anything that was just done, that is basically... how they did it is how I'm doing it, which is, you know, you have a payload carried by either first or second stage on top of boost. You know, in this case, in some of these cases, I can actually just use the main booster to go the whole way. But you know, I'll have a first or second or one or two stage rocket, and sometimes it'll have strap-on side boosters, which was what they did for the Falcon Heavy. Basically using the same core 3 times. And that's what I'm doing. This is going to take a long time to load, unfortunately, because I have a ton of mods, and I need some of them because they're basically... Now, so the Falcon Heavy is... There's the Falcon 9. The Falcon Heavy is 2 boosters, 2 side boosters. So there's the primary core, and then 2 side boosters, which are also feeding fuel into the core stage, so that when they expend their fuel faster, so they can be gotten rid of faster, and still keep as much fuel as possible in the primary stage. So basically, as it's going up, the main stage is burning fuel from the booster tanks, and the boosters are also burning fuel from those same tanks, and then they detach, and then the main core burns fuel from the main core's tank. And then all 3 of them were supposed to land, but they had a problem with one of the... I think it's actually the hypergolic ignition system for the central core. If I read that right, it's basically the they use a 2-part hypergolic or not hypergolic, that would be just for fuel, but it's a 2-part chemical thing that would make it help ignite. When the 2 chemicals come together, they burn, and then that would help ignite the main stage again. And something happened with the system on the main booster. It worked fine on the secondary boosters and the side boosters, but for whatever reason, that system didn't work right. So the other one crashed. The main core crashed. But thankfully, it's, you know, that does happen. They're making tests, so you know, that's how that works. So basically, I came up with another one. It was basically the same thing, but instead of 2 boosters, it's 4, and it does the same thing. It's asparagus stage where it burns fuel from the side boosters first, and then anyway. And then so that's going to be how I'm going to use to launch my primary launch the kind of the heavier stuff, the space station parts, and then I have some SSTO, single stage to orbit ships that are for carrying crew up to the stations. And then basically the first thing I'm going to build is a station that is going to be for constructing everything else. So it's going to be an orbital space dock, and then I'm also going to build a station that is going to function as a transfer point, because it's a lot more efficient to have craft that only have to operate in space, than instead of just having to have a craft that will operate both in space and in atmosphere. So I'm going to build a transfer station that will then let me keep craft in space that I built at that orbital space dock, and then basically transfer fuel supplies and personnel between the two ships, or between, you know, a supply ship and something that's going off to the outer planets or something like that. It's really easy to get to the Mun or Minimus in one mission with an SSTO or something like that, even with a fairly heavy payload. But if you want to do like missions to the outer planets, which like most of the places you're going to want to go are going to be like Duna, which is you know, their Mars analog in the game, or you will want to go to Lathe, which is, it's not really analogous to anything other than it is a planet with a lot of water and actual oxygen on it, so air breathing engines work. That is in orbit of Jool, which is their Jupiter analog. So it's finally loading up here. All right, so I got a bunch of random mod shit going on here. I'm using the Kerbal attachment system. I'm using a ton of stuff. I will eventually put a list of mods I'm using out there, but I'm going to start with the first thing which I want to do, which was basically building the core of the space dock, and also I'm going to probably throw up if I can put up the core of the transfer station. And basically the idea is this is going to be a system that is built using did I just knock myself out? All right. This is going to be a system built using near future technology, in the sense of like everything is hopefully going to be within the grasp of, you know, actual conservative estimates for abilities up to probably 20 years from now, maybe. Some of its stuff is obviously already here. The Falcon lifters and things like that already exist. I call mine the Type 7 lifters because instead of using 9 engines, these use like 7 engines. I don't know why I had so much trouble with that. Let's see. I'm trying to find the orbital space dock. Yeah, so I have the core and multiple arm pieces. So I have to launch the core. This is going to be the first thing I put up there. I'm going to put one Kerbal on here, but this is just the equivalent of the Falcon 9. Basically, this is the Type 7 booster. It's actually it's a single stage to orbit, and it should still be able to land itself for recovering the boosters. I don't know if I'll be able to get it at the Space Center, Kerbal Space Center. I've tested this thing a few times, and it's still a little wonky, but it basically uses the exact same system as the Falcon 9. It you know, has the primary 7 engines, liquid fuel, and oxygen. The heavy landing gear. It's called, in fact, this mod is the reusability mod, and it uses the Falcon heavy landing gear. There are also landing gear that are for the Blue Origin craft, but I don't know. This one's in the news lately, so I thought it was cool to do one that looked a little bit more like that. So I have the whole thing set up here. The only thing I want to do is I want to change this fairing out because I don't really like that. I want it to be straight, and it can be. I just got to grab the right fairing. I need the 3.75 millimeter, or 3.75 meter. I still have to make it bulge out a little bit, but not nearly as much as I had on the other one. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Put that back in place. Auto strut. That looks a little bit more like a Falcon core anyway, with that. But yeah, the Falcon one would have a upper booster, and I can do this without it, which is actually, at least I should be able to. Yeah, thrust to weight ratio. 40. Yeah, so I have 4,200, give or take, meters per second of delta V, which is plenty to get into Kerbin orbit, and a fairly high Kerbin orbit, and in fact return this thing back to its original point. Let's see. Make sure I do a final check on this. I did launch this once just to test it. Yeah, I got the module. I got that. I got some solar panels on here. I've got communications modules or antennas, RCS thrusters for station keeping, and it should have some RCS or some monopropellant on here. Yeah, 10 and 120. That's plenty to keep it in place when we detach it. And then everything will be, the rest of the system will attach to these girders here, except there will be a claw that I need to attach down at the bottom, but that's going to have to be in a second mission, or later mission. I'm estimating this orbital space dock will take something in the order of, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12 missions. I broke it down the other day, and I've forgotten what I ultimately figured out. But it's not going to be done fast. But I can at least put the core up in a couple of the side pieces, and also show off my space tug. So I'm going to put that up, and that's good. That's good. Everything looks okay there. All right, cool. So get ready to launch this bad boy. The one thing is, this is definitely will get into orbit, and it will do it easily. It has plenty of thrust and delta V to get into orbit, no problem. The biggest thing I have to worry about is making sure it lands again at the Space Center. I don't have facility to land it on a boat. Oh, I do not want all those people on here. Crap. Well, yeah, okay. So revert flight to vehicle assembly. Oops. All right. Well, at least I know how this game works, and I can make this work as opposed to some of the other ones. Are supposed to deborn his beard. I'm going to see if I can figure out what's going on with that, but I'm not going to do it tonight. While I'm streaming, I need some more stream helper. I think it's better to fly rockets when you've been drinking fine Irish whiskey. Delicious. All right. And so that's good. I just need to adjust the crew. I really only want, and I don't want my core 4 pilots. I need a pilot and a cupola, and then I need like 2 engineers. I think that would be good. Engineer and engineer. And I'm playing on a sandbox mode, so I have plenty of access to Kerbals, and it's not a question of money. Although this is actually, especially for a late stage, if you're doing a late stage career mode, or actually like trying to, when you're spending money to do this kind of stuff, it's actually, you know, perfectly reasonable as far as doing it. You still have to have a crazy budget that, you know, we are not spending stuff on, but as far as the actual methods of getting stuff into space, for the most part, it's perfectly reasonable and plausible. So I try to keep it as realistic, if slightly future realistic as possible. So let's see. All right, we're good there, and we're ready to launch. My readouts aren't showing, or my readouts are hidden behind the camera, so I'm going to see if I can adjust that a little bit. But I will have readouts for the no boat to land on. What is this, amateur hour? Honestly, if I could build a boat that I've seen people do it. The problem is KSP's water physics are a little weird, and sometimes it tends to like just blow up for no reason. The physics engine is still not perfect, so that shouldn't be so high. I don't know why that decided to mount like that, but all right, there we go. So let's see, throttle up, and then we're going to stage the main engine, and then stage the docking clamps. So looking good. Oh yeah, I was gonna adjust my Kerbal engineering. These down so you can see them. Stop editing that, and then edit HUD number 2, so you can see that there. You can't see, unfortunately, you can't see my altitude. That was a mistake on my part. I should have probably figured that out. But to be fair, I wasn't planning on using this. Custom 5, that it's on. You can't see that at all because it's hidden behind that. So there you go. It's got some more information about the ship, and then turn the vessel off. I'm not worried about thrust to weight ratio, and I can stop editing that. And now we're good. I think everyone can see it. I want these on here so that people can see it when I do this again. I may in fact redo these launches for the video, but I figured I would give it a shot. This is a good way to test these and find out any issues, probably in a spectacular and explosive fashion. All right, and we are off. As you can see, it has no problem with thrust to rate issues. It is incredibly quick. Stop, Kerbal engineer. Thank you. All right. So we're ready to start our gravity turn. Oop. Nope. I was looking at it from the wrong angle. This one can be reasonably reasonably aggressive on the gravity turn. It does. It is a little top heavy. It does tend to want to wobble, but the way it's burning fuel, it should keep everything nice and bottom heavy for when I land. Because that's the thing. It really is a problem with this. It has no parachutes. It has no upper. The only thing it has to keep it upright is the fact that the remaining fuel as it comes in will be in the lower tank. And then the other thing it has going for it is the fins at the top. So let's see. Apoapsis is good. I'm gonna try and get my vertical or horizontal speed going here. But we're aiming for the space dock. We're aiming for an orbit of about 80 kilometers, which is too low for Earth orbit. But in Kerbin, that is just above the Kármán line of the planet. So it's pretty good for what we're trying to do. And there we go, 80. And yeah, see, we've still got 2,300 meters per second of delta V. We're in orbit mode. We got prograde. Set the prograde marker. And then I hope I have enough batteries. That's the one thing I'm pretty sure I kept enough batteries on this to handle any of the turning I need to do. But this first section is going to be easy because I don't have to mess about with any sort of rendezvous because it's the first piece, so I don't have to rendezvous anything with it. I get the periapsis. So basically I'm creating a maneuver node trying to more or less circularize my orbit and get this at a nice. All right, so I'm having trouble here. This is the most trouble I always have with maneuver nodes is getting the first circularized orbit because it tends to flake a little bit. It's easy to overshoot when I screw with this, and I have the all the patch conics thing going and all that stuff, so we're ready to go. All right, that's good enough. Yeah, that's within a few hundred meters on either side of the orbit, and I need to adjust for the node. I turn RCS on, and then I have a better burn or better node calculation, I think, or better time warp. This makes it easier to actually tell you, and when these little dots go away, that's when you're ready to actually fire for a halfway through burn, because it is more efficient to burn halfway through, or basically do half the burn on one side of the maneuver node and half the burn on the other side of the maneuver node for the maximum fuel efficiency. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm not drunk enough. Taking it too seriously. So basically the estimated burn is 24 seconds. We want to go full throttle at 12 seconds to circularize this orbit. And 3, 2, 1, and there we go. And we just keep it locked on the node. These are near future propulsion engines. I believe this is the Kite liquid fuel engine. This is kind of the moderate size one, I believe. It's perfect for a first stage of this type. They fit nicely, and it's plenty. Because honestly, the main reason I can make this with 7 engines instead of 9 is because Kerbin's atmosphere is much the Kerbin atmosphere is much smaller. And it is much easier to get in orbit. You need much less delta V and much less thrust. Okay, why are you twitching like that? All right, stop. Thank you. All right, so let's see. We can deploy. Yes, all right. So the next stage would be to deploy the fairing. And then the next one, and I think I need to change the force. I can't change the force on this one. All right, so this is going to deploy, and it's going to be with too much force because I think I remember not using enough deployment. So this next stage will deploy, basically use this stack separator and also fire these retro rockets to help move this away from that. And I'm going to turn on the RCS thrusters just so it doesn't go out of control. And then we will stage it. And then see that moving away. And there you go. Now it's nice and safe. Yeah, so it's got built-in solar panels. I don't think the one thing I probably should have done was done an action group for all of these antennas, which I did not do. But we'll go ahead and extend them by hand. So this is the core stage of what will eventually be the orbital shipyard. orbital space dock. It will basically, so I can't build anything in space, but I'm going to be using it as a place to, it's going to have like clamps on it to hold ships in place while I build them so they don't drift apart. And we'll also have a place to, basically it'll have enough fuel to, basically, so I won't have to launch full fuel tanks necessarily into orbit, making it a little easier to get stuff into orbit. I will have some fuel. It will be able to fuel up a ship that has been built there, and then at least enough to get to the transfer station, or I will send a tanker up with more fuel. But that way, it makes some of the launches a little easier. I've already designed a tanker for carrying fuel to the space station, using a second stage, or excuse me, an SSTO, a single stage to orbit space plane. So let's see. All right, we're going to turn this, and actually, I think I want it to be this way. I want it to be oriented basically straight out from wherever it is at the time, and then turn the lights on. And so there we go. That's the beginning of a station. It's not much to see. It's got basic communication systems, some solar panels to keep it operational, and room for the crew. And that's about it. It really has not much else, and it has just like enough to keep the crew going. So I've also got a life support pack going on this thing, the UTI life support, but I don't think I'm going to use it because honestly it is... I'm still not that familiar with it. I will probably eventually turn it on, but for right now, I'm just kind of doing things the easier way. Because this is more just a demonstration rather than a actual thing. So, because I'm not a real scientist. All right, so I'm or engineer. So I'm warping around here, and then I will turn it, and then you'll be able to get see it in its full glory. And there you go. So that's the beginning piece of the space station. Now I have to switch over to, hi Snookums, my probe, which is the core system. It has 1,500 meters per second. I need barely any at all to deorbit, and then I will use this to land. So I'm using a system called the Trajectories mod, which is very helpful. This will help me basically plan a trajectory for how I will get back to the space center. So I have this. I have my fin deployed because that does it calculates basically what the aerodynamics are at any given time, and then figures out where it will go based on your landing profile. So I'm going to add a maneuver here, and what I'm aiming for is this little blip of a subcontinent over here. Off the Africa-shaped continent, which is where the Kerbal Space Program is, or Space Center is, excuse me. And I'm going in fairly light. I don't really want to do a hard burn because I want to get as much atmosphere. It should go okay, basically getting as much atmosphere as I can to help slow me down. So that looks close. It's a little off, but it will be easier when this actually gets a little closer because oh no. This will be worse. The planet is rotating into the Terminator, so that's no good. All right, so we're gonna have to warp around a few times until the space center is at least in the sunlight. Because I know where it is, but trying to land it in the dark, because I'm not a computer-controlled rocket, it's a little hard. So we're gonna keep warping around until it comes back into sight. There it is. Okay, now we can add a maneuver. I'm going to try about here. And then that little X is more or less where I will land. And hi, Snookums. All right, come on. Oh, you squeaked. Sorry about that. I need to adjust my normal a little bit there to get onto the little peninsula. And I'm going to aim a little bit past it because I will be using engine braking to do that. So I will... Let's see. How many meters per second is that? That's no problem. That's well within my budget. I really the grid fins actually brake very well, so I don't have to do a lot to mess with it. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust this way a bit because that's gonna be closer to where we're going to actually be. And then I'm going to warp around to here. And yeah, you see the planet is rotated into it a little bit. It's not quite enough. So I will adjust there. Yep. And RCS is on. Oop. I'm probably going to miss that node, but that's okay. I just have to get, like, close. This is more a target for me than anything else. Yeah, I'm going to miss the node by a little bit. But that's okay. Come on. Come on. Why are you taking so long? All right. And I'm actually using more Delta V because I have to... More fuel than I really want to be because I have to do a... RCS burn, or I had to change my inclination a little bit, and that uses a lot of extra fuel, which is especially at this low an altitude. So that kind of sucks, but we're fine. I'm going to keep an eye on. We got no accident. Yeah, all right. So we got nothing, but all the fuel is down in this tank, which is where it's supposed to be. The gear are ready. The RCS system is still got plenty of RCS, I think. Reaction wheel. What do I actually have RCS in? I don't remember what I... Do I actually have RCS fuel? Yeah, what? Oh, that's right. These are liquid-fueled RCS thrusters. That's why. They're the high-powered RCS thrusters for this beefy stage. So, let's see. We're going to go ahead and retract these for now because they're going to do diddly squat in the upper atmosphere, basically. We're pointed retrograde, and we are now entering the atmosphere. I probably should have saved the game before I did that, but, well, it's too late now. Yeah, I'm pointing retrograde. That's the way I want to be. All right, so we're going to come in, and I got to watch my heat levels here, basically. It may damage the RCS thrusters, to be honest with you, at the bottom. I don't know. Why has this got so little volume? Okay, here we go. This is why I'm overshooting a little bit, or aiming to overshoot, because I'm using these... I'm using the engines to slow down and maintain... Oh. What's going on here? All right, here we go. There we go. We are through the worst of it. Did something get lopsided? What's going on here? No, I don't know. All right, so we're going to actually undershoot. That was my fear, is we're going to undershoot a little bit. I don't know why it's having trouble maintaining that. All right, so gear down. It's all right. We're close to it. This is, you know, this is a test flight, basically. This is the first flight. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you tilting like that? You've literally never done this before. Why are you doing this to me? Okay, to stay upright. No. Okay, that could have been a lot worse. We landed. All right, we're recovering the vessel. We did it. I'm gonna try harder on the next one to land that right. I was pretty sure I was going to miss the the KSC, but I didn't think I was going to have such trouble landing. I don't know why it. I don't know if something broke that was causing it to move at such a weird angle. Something broke loose or something. I'm not sure, but whatever. It did land. It did fall over, but that was. For some reason, it was just tracking weird, which I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm going to have to figure that out. It shouldn't do that. And it's never done that the entire time I had it. Anyway. All right. So that was the orbital space dock. Oh, right. That's the thing I need to launch is my heavy tug, which is going to let's see. Do I have a heavy space tug here? Yeah, here we go. So this is the Type 3 reusable craft, which are basically it is a scaled down version of the same thing. But what all because all I'm actually launching is this, which is a space tug, which is going to help me assemble the rest of my station. So this has got to go up first. Well, we have the core first. This has got to go up second. And then this will do the majority of the work on the station, helping get things moved around. And it has its own little clamp system built in, so it can actually basically just take off or attach itself to the station and hold on there while we wait. So I don't want it crew. Well, no. It doesn't have remote control, so I do have to. Oh no, it does have remote control. That's right. And it doesn't have enough, and it does not have an antenna on it. That was something I remembered I did not do correctly, because I launched this before and forgot to go back and fix that. All right, so it just needs really any old antenna to help boost its signal. It is never going to leave Kerbin orbit, and so its built-in antenna is really enough, but I want to be extra thorough. So put this guy on here, and yeah, there we go. So it's got a Kerbal attachment system stuff built in. It's got an inventory, photovoltaic panels to give it a little extra power, plenty of batteries, and the extendable nuclear engines, which are part of this pack that this came from, and also these little guys, which are the helper drones, which are really nice. They basically let you attach RCS thrusters to large structures, so it's going to be really helpful when I'm trying to maneuver like an entire space station arm into place. So I think that's everything. Make sure the crew is unloaded. I do not want Jeb on there, or Jed, or whatever. But yeah, so this is actually a little bit closer, probably, to what the Falcon 9 would actually do, or be like. It also does not have an upper stage because it doesn't need it. It is actually. So one of these, the main core is not enough to launch this thing, but three cores is frankly overkill. So that's part of the problem with that, but you know, it's worth doing. And this is set in reusable mode. I'm not going to try and recover the boosters. They are exactly the same as the main stage, and I will probably recover them on another video just to prove that can be done. But they are essentially the exact same as the main stage, except they have a nose cone on them. So, but everything else other than that is actually pretty much exactly like the other one. One of the main differences, though, is I actually it has a mounted propellant tank mounted down at the bottom. So these are actually way more maneuverable. All the batteries and mounted propellant are mounted to the bottom, which I'm going to do when I rework the other launchers, because having those fixed weights, especially the batteries at the bottom, help keep this thing even more bottom heavy, which is what we want, both for maneuverability in space and also or maneuverability as we go up to space, and also for when we're landing, because we want it to come in ass first. So let's see. Heavy space tug is ready to go. There's that. There's that. And let's send it to the launcher. Now this one, technically, I am trying to achieve a rendezvous with the space station core that I put up there. So I'm gonna watch it and give it as best a shot of getting in one as I can. I'm not that good at getting rendezvous in one orbit, but I can get it pretty close. So let's see. Get the SAS on. And why is it not showing? Oh, there it is. Oh, crap. All right, so the space dock core is already, I want it to be basically behind me in the orbit because I'm going to be coming up to meet it. And I'm going to, it's going to take me a while. So I got to let it warp around Kerbin one time. And I want it to be about here when I start. That should be pretty close, given the ascent profile of this rocket. So, nope, that's too far. But all right, sorry. Throttle up, launch. And I'm actually going to throttle back down because this rocket is, like I say, way overpowered for what it is. And in fact, if I put this in expendable mode where I didn't recover the boosters, I could probably, I mean, I could put a significant amount of payload into orbit, which is exactly what the Falcon Heavy is supposed to do. It's like it has two modes, basically, or multiple modes, but basically where you're trying to reuse parts of it, or all, or as much as possible, or a mode where you just, everything's expendable and you're not even trying. But you can see this thing launches much faster than the other one. It's also got fewer moving parts. But I'm already off my curve. This thing is that beefy because I'm just launching, frankly, a ship that is much too small for it. And that ship itself could to maintain its own orbit, but I don't want to burn it out. So I am throttling down, detach, and then throttle back up. And we're going for a roughly 80-kilometer orbit as well. So I have not been following my burn enough. All right, so there we go, 80 kilometers. And we want to RCS on and get this thing to more or less maintain that orbit. So we're going to circularize at 80 kilometers, and this should, let's set this as a target. This should give us a pretty close rendezvous. I may have to screw with it, but I think we're going to get close. Yeah, here we go. Intersect 1 at getting it down to, we want to get to like 0.1 kilometers. Yep. But we may not get that. That's okay. I can make some adjustments once I'm up there, but that's good. That's a good, let's see. And what's my suggested periapsis? 70, apoapsis. Perfect. That's perfect. That'll put me on a close intersect. That's also a good intersect as well. So that's exactly what we want. We want it to be more or less on that path. And then, so the main core, we'll keep it, or we'll get it into orbit, and then we'll detach the main core and actually deorbit that while we, once we get it into this circular orbit, and then detach, and then let the smaller ship do the final approach, because it's frankly way more maneuverable. So, let's see. All right, 32-second burn in 30 seconds. Just enough time for more whiskey. All right, let's see. 18, 17, 16. Go for full throttle. This would be real uncomfortable if there was a person in it, but thankfully there isn't. Although it's still not that crazy powerful. These are great little engines. These are basically these are clones of the Merlin engine, and then variations thereof. Turning on RCS because this thing is getting a little wobbly, probably because the load is unbalanced inside the payload. So we just got to get pretty close. And then okay, good enough. All right, so fairing deploy. I think. Oh, I forgot what does what on this craft because I. Let's see. Group 1, Group 2. Let's see, edit actions. Okay, that does that. Switches mode on the nuclear engines. That's it. Number 8. Deploys the photovoltaic panels, which is what I needed. Get rid of that, and then we will detach this. That one does not have a retro thrusters because the payload is much smaller and it's a little easier to do it this way. So this is my kind of frankly ugly space tug, but let's see. Let's make sure it is still 9.9 kilometers at 55 meters per second. That's fine. I can adjust that better. I can make this a little bit easier. Let's see what it actually comes down to. Intersect 11.5 kilometers. Okay, so we can make a little bit of adjustment. Put a maneuver, yeah, and then make sure that's slowed down. And then let's see if we can make some adjust. Let's see what I need to adjust this. I'm gonna have to adjust my inclination. It's off, which I should have realized that the station core's inclination is off, which is a problem. But I literally can't fix it without this space tug, so I'm gonna have to deal with it. I'm basically just trying to get as close as possible. Let's see what I can get. I'm tweaking the maneuver node until I get my apoapsis and retrograde and prograde markers and normal and anti-normal until I get as close as possible to where I want to be, which I think we can get. Yeah. Now the good news is this thing is what? It only has 537 meters per second of delta V. What? Did I forget to fuel this thing up? What the hell's going on here? Liquid fuel. Let's go liquid fuel. All right. May have this in the wrong mode. I'm not sure. Oh, we got below on the second intersect. I got below. All right, that's good enough. All right, we'll do this. We'll do this maneuver. And that's in mode. Oh, it's in monopropellant mode. That would be why. So these engines are designed to run on monopropellant or liquid fuel. And in liquid fuel mode, and as nuclear engines, they work great. As monopropellant engines, they work crappy. So this thing is a very maneuverable ship, and that's why I was like, I don't understand why I don't have enough delta V here. So, all right, that should put us, yeah, 0.6 kilometers, and then we'll go over here and see if we can't. Ooh, excuse me. It's got plenty of, the thrust to weight ratio is actually really good for this one for having nuclear engines because there's almost nothing to the ship. These are excessively powerful engines for what this ship is. Let's see. All right, I'm on target. And then we're going to get retrograde to target. Oh, turn off RCS. I don't need them. And then if I do this right. Yeah, so basically trying to burn off speed relative to the target, and the maneuver node is not changing. The distance is not changing too much, so that's exactly what we want. Stop it. All right. Basically, we want to burn off all of our velocity relative to the target, and then we'll point towards the target, and we'll do it again. There's easier ways to make a rendezvous happen, but this is, well, there's more efficient ways to make a rendezvous happen. This is the easiest way to make a rendezvous happen. God, I'm not having nearly enough booze here. For 10:30 on a Sunday night. I was really hoping to play that damn beard game because I thought something would explode or I would do something cool. But this is just, I mean, this is fun. I like this game, which is why I play it all the time. But I feel like this could have been way more interesting. All right, so we got to get to within, you know, pretty close here. Got to go and time warp till we get a little closer, and then we'll readjust our. Oh, time warped the wrong way. All right, retrograde. It's fine. We didn't go too far out, or we didn't go far out of the way at all. So, and basically, again, we're just moving. We're just burning prograde or retrograde to the target, and then we're going to move towards the target. The other thing I want to do is arm this. Arm the grabber. There we go, because I'm going to need that, because I'm going to basically grabber the space dock. And then, yeah, so there we go. Just basically pulses of the engine now. I'm not even going to engage RCS thrusters. How much monopropellant do I have? Plenty. Okay, plenty of monopropellant, especially for as light as this thing is. And then we'll just go right into... Just want to stay close. Oh, damn. We're losing sunlight. I think I can turn on spotlights. Okay, so that is a spotlight on there. That's good, because I'll need that, because I'm going to need the extra light to see. Okay, and then... We're going to go ahead and kick on RCS thrusters just to make this a little easier. Got plenty of RCS. Yeah, so this thing is designed to move stuff around in space, and that's all it does. It's a very basic craft, but it's part of a pack. I really like it because it lets you, you know, the way the engines work and stuff like that are kind of cool. And they're basically nerve engine, slightly downscaled nerve engines, which are the nuclear rocket engines for the... in the stock game, but then they use, yeah, they're retractable, and they can also burn monopropellant, which I guess makes sense, maybe? I don't know. Not particularly efficient, but... Alright, so let's get camera into locked mode. Alright, there we go. And all I want to do is basically dock at the end of this thing, and I can actually switch between the two. Okay, control it from here. Control from here. What, I can't set as target? Okay, there we go. And then point at the target, and then that will turn it, and then the other one will turn, and then I switch back, and... Oh, right, I have extended physics range on. So that would be the problem. But we're going to go straight in. Little dab of monopropellant just to, or that, and I don't actually have to dock on this part, but this is the part that's going to not have anything coming into it, so if for at least for a while. So I want to keep I want to keep it clear for the next mission. All right, that's off, and then dab of monopropellant, slow down, and then this should grab on. And I think that's what it's doing as it's locking and changing the... Okay, so now this is here. Yeah, I don't have nearly as much fuel because of my meter per second because I've got a lot more weight. But I still should be able to adjust the inclination of the... Well, the inclination is not that far. It's only half a degree off. It's actually closer to where I want it to be than I thought. I think that may just be... it was actually a problem with the launch. A half a degree is not too bad. So, never mind. We're not going to worry too much of the inclination burn, especially at this point, because I don't know that I'm going to keep using this. So, let's see. Control from here. And radial out. That's what we want. All right. So, there we go. I'm going to try and see if I can find this guy. There we go. How's your battery doing? Forgot to... Okay, plenty of battery. And then we're going to do the same thing I did with the other one and see if I can land at the KSP, or KSC, excuse me. So I want to warp here. And see if I can land. I'm going to actually overshoot a little bit more because that was the problem I had with the last one, is I undershot, basically. So I want to make sure retrograde is on, and I want to turn on the air brakes so it knows what the actual profile is. Control from here. And then, because that's how that landing trajectory thing works, is I do need to adjust my inclination a little bit. And then, there we go. And I think that's actually, it's pretty good. Okay. Go ahead and RCS, SAS, and then get that. I'm going to aim. 5-second burn in 57 seconds. That's perfect. No spectacular explosions yet. That is one thing I seem to have a lot with KSP. But I've gotten really good. I've actually gotten way good at the game, or at least good at building rockets and not making have huge explosions, which is good for completing the game. Not so great for fun explosion time on the live stream, but whatever. Let's see. 18. I don't want to warp, time warp, because I'm afraid I will go over. And I think this is still, yeah. So this is using 3 of the kite engines. The other one uses 7. The launcher you saw before uses 7. Basically to achieve the same thing. If I were doing the actual, going the Falcon style, it would have a center engine, which is, that actually uses a lot of the stuff uses the center engine for a sustainer, while the other engines go out, except for the very landing. I think that's how that works on the Falcon. But anyway, let's see. All right, so we are ready. We are in our deorbit, or we made our deorbit burn, and let's go ahead and see what happens. Oh, I want to be pointing prograde. All right, we are going into the atmosphere. You see leftover pieces from the decoupling. And let's see what happens. I've tested this one too. It's pretty stable. And it should be bottom heavy and want to basically orient itself in the correct direction. So I just have to keep an eye on the motors and on the temperature gauges. I'm basically just slowing myself down. I think that's the last that I have to do. See, now it's wanting to tilt too. This is an issue, but I know it's not missing any engines, which that's important. It just kind of wants to come in hot. I'm going to close the air brakes and let it move a little faster, because I'm gonna undershoot again, which is unfortunate, I think. But you know, that's the way it is. Yeah, see, that's the one thing I have not locked in how fast, or like basically how far past the KSC I need to go to have an accurate landing. And then gear down. We are close. Oh no. I am not a computer-controlled rocket. Still got plenty of Delta V. Just take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. Plenty of Delta V. Just relax. Happy little trees. There we go. All right. Stuck the landing on that one. Approaching midnight here, and I should probably get to sleep soon. I am actually I'm going to quit too. I was able to get this thing on the ground, and I am proud of that. And I got the first stage up there. I think I'm done. I want to do 2 launches, and I did the 2 launches that I had to do, and I'm going to try the other one. But I've begun colonizing the system. So thanks for watching, and I'm going to see if I can get that beard game to work, and maybe I'll try it again. And I'll continue doing this because this is a project I've been working on for a while, and I think it's ready to go, at least the early stages, so we can get starting. So thanks for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye? I don't know. Ending the stream now. Goodbye.